The Japanese cheesecake, or also known as cotton cake, is a kind of sponge cake where the egg whites are whipped and then added to the cream cheese egg yolk batter to create a fluffy texture. The cake is then baked in a hot water bath that makes it moist and jiggly and produces a soft chiffon-like consistency cake. The action of beating egg whites creates bubbles and at the same time coaxes the coiled egg white proteins to uncurl and regroup into flexible mesh-like sheets that wrap around the bubbles. Eventually, the protein coating of the air pockets link together, making a foam.
First, unsalted butter, cream cheese, and milk were warmed up. Then the egg yolks were mixed, and unsalted butter, cream cheese, and milk mixture was added to them. Also, the sifted corn flour and the sifted flour according to the treatment. Meanwhile, the egg whites were mixed for 6 minutes, and tartaric acid and sugar was added. After this, the egg whites were folded slowly in the mixture. The final mixture was poured into the cupcake tray and that into a warm water bath, and both were put in the oven. Total area percentage was calculated and the presence of pores was analyzed with ImageG software. Statistical analysis of data was done using a Pearson correlation analysis in Minitab with a 95% confidence level, and a vector analysis graph was constructed. A sensory evaluation for 30 people was performed to evaluate the attributes of texture, flavor, aroma, and appearance.
As seen in Table 1, an analysis of the technological properties of the Japanese cake was performed in order to evaluate the effect of the table flour on the muffin characteristics. When egg foam is subject to heat, the air trapped within the bubbles will expand, thereby increasing the volume of the foam. As a result of the coagulation of the egg white, the egg foam will become rigid and will thus maintain its increased volume. Tartaric acid changes the electrical charge of the proteins, making them more sensitive to denaturation, so the egg whites promptly begin to foam. However, the highest log volume of the cake was of the gluten-free flour treatment, to replace the properties of gluten and ultimately improve the bread characteristics. Additives, especially hydrocolloids, are used in the gluten-free baking recipes. A Pearson correlation analysis was performed in order to evaluate the tendency of the different parameters. A significant negative correlation was observed between the variables of protein percentage and area percentage, probably due to more protein aggregation during baking contributes to stronger cell walls and less collapse of air bubbles. Gluten-free treatment additionally contains pea protein, which have good foaming and emulsifying properties. To evaluate the tendency of the different parameters, a vector analysis graph was constructed. Delta height and error percentage are the principal components that lead the experiment, and if they are changed, the experiment will be affected, probably because of the importance of the Japanese cake to have a higher log volume, trapping more air bubbles between the structure.
A sensory evaluation was carried out with both treatments in order to know if the panelists were aware to any difference between the two formulations. With the results obtained, it was constructed a spider graph, and when analyzing the data, it is observed that the panelists observed what difference significant. The present study showed that the Japanese cake muffins formulated with composite flour from whole grain, sorghum flour, potato starch, corn flour, soybean protein isolate, guar gum, and hantan gum had similar characteristics with those of wet flour and can be used as well replacer in a gluten-free Japanese cake. The gluten-free flour had a better foaming and emulsion characteristics and exhibited potential to produce an acceptable Japanese cake.